intro us tonight?
Dare you?
You don't have to.
Intros are my worst.
Just putting it out there.
Hi, I'm Audra from Rolling Times Magazine, visiting with Ffion Davies at 10th Planet on the Thanks for Rolling podcast.
You
Welcome.
said my name right. Like, legitimately said it right. Like, no, honestly, you said Davis as well.
I forgot to introduce you. We have Pat
Campanola.
and Jeff.
Come on.
Jeff.
I'll be just Jeff.
My
name's Jeff.
I always introduce myself
name
as
is Jeff.
just Audra. I want to be like Cher.
Yeah. Welcome to the Thanks for Rolling podcast. We are here with Ffion Davies. Now you put the pressure on me, right? Like I was like, don't say Davies,
I'm so
please.
impressed because everyone says Davies or they're like Ffion Davies. It's like my American pseudonym. now.
I saw someone in your Instagram comments the other day, and they're like, apparently you need to make an Instagram that it's Davies, not Davis. I'm like, you're wrong, bro.
Yeah, they think it's the other way around because my name is spelled Davies, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's pronounced Davis.
Yeah.
I don't really care at this point.
Your little video about it's Ffion, not Fiona, always makes me laugh.
It's very passive aggressive. I felt bad, but I was also like, please stop calling me Fiona.
I get it. Well, this is a big one, Pat.
Yeah, we just wrapped up a seminar here with Ffion, and we had a short amount of time to fill in before we have to hustle her off to the train station. So we're going to squeeze in a quick podcast and hopefully have some fun. So Ffion, how was your first trip to New England?
It was great. It was a journey. The trains are not the best on the way up here, but I got the right ones, and that's a success for me. Mm-hmm. Usually I am traveling challenged. I don't drive. I don't have a driver's license. Which is embarrassing at my age. But it's not, I want to say it's not as common in the UK, but that's not even true. But we just have more metro systems and stuff. So, yeah, it's quite, that's actually why I picked New York to live in, because you don't have to drive. Mm-hmm. That's literally why I picked it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Good logic.
Yeah.
So
it was great. I had a great time. I hope everyone else did. I kept making inappropriate jokes and swearing in front of little kids, but other than that,
I think the crowd of kids we had today, mine included, they're okay with it.
They're jiu-jitsu kids. They're used to it.
Yeah, they hang out in the gym all the time. They hear it every night.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Whatever you said was not nearly as bad as what everybody else has said.
Goose.
Yeah.
I kept saying, I was like,
Very
why am I
wholesome.
saying this?
What did you say? Something was a ball ache?
I did. It's
And
a
you're
ball ache. And I was like, oh, God, a bum ache. Oh, I was going to say arsehole. And I went, bumhole. And I was like, that's not,
Bummel.
that's not any better.
How come she talks that way? Yeah. So I know you and I have been bantering around some. Well, I asked you yesterday. I was like, "Have you been preparing just in case we get a chance to talk to Ffion off camera, off mat, whatever that would be,
Off mat, on camera.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations on amazing 2022.
Thank you. I was so confused what year it was.
Very, very exciting. I know it took me a second as well. Very, very exciting. Has it been different for you? Hard for you? How do you feel after all that attention being brought to yourself? After winning Worlds, winning ADCC.
I don't know. I don't think it was that. Well, I know it was, to be honest. It was a bit more attention, I guess. I think after 2019 with the beer win, that did bring more. I remember, I kind of remember when I have a significant jump in followers or whatever off social media, and that had a big jump. And then this one, Worlds in the gi, nobody really cared. I have to be honest. I cared deeply, but nobody else did. So it was more of a very personal win. But after ADCC, it was crazy, and people who don't even train would know about it. So that was interesting. It was very different. It was nice to see it expand into not just people who do jiu-jitsu, but people who are kind of fans. Not of me, just of jiu-jitsu. So that was very interesting. And I went immediately into a camp in Sardinia, and then it was a big seminar, and there was so many people there. That was really intense. And it was I was very happy to win those things, but I had a period of feeling really down afterwards. I was doing a bunch of seminars. I couldn't really train because I just tore my MCL in the final, because I decided to try and knee cut out of someone having a knee talk. Very technical. So I couldn't really roll. So I think that wasn't helping either, because I wasn't training. I was just teaching, and I had a sore knee, I was just traveling. I did so many seminars, and I was just like, God, I feel so sad now. Like,
Yeah, were you ready just to get back to kind of regular life after all the hoopla at that point?
yeah, it was weird because I was like, I feel like things should be different, but they're not really different. But like, why is nothing changed? But at the same time, I felt like now, okay, everyone's looking at, not everyone, but like there's more tension, there's more pressure on me now. So I was like, oh, this is not how I thought it was going to feel. I thought like I'd be fulfilled, I'd be content now. I didn't feel like that at all. I just wanted to compete again. And okay, next Worlds, but winning once isn't enough, and I wanted to do more. And it was, I don't know, like now I feel happy with it. But at the time, it was very hard to sort of come to terms that I'd achieved those things that had been goals of mine for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was weird. It was a very weird feeling. But now I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm fine. It's okay.
I'm back. I'm back.
I've heard you talk I'm sorry, Audra. I've heard you've talked recently about how now that you've kind of come to terms with all that you feel like the pressure is off when you're competing and you get to just go out and enjoy competing again.
Yeah, I think it was like flipping my mindset on it, was sort of being like, okay, I can decide and be like, oh, everyone thinks I'm going to win. But like, that's actually never the case. Like, even when I've won stuff, I feel like I'm never sort of seen or viewed as the favorite because I'm kind of inconsistent. Like, I've had like big wins and like major wins, but I'm never that person who absolutely constantly dominates. I have this tendency that when I'm on top, I have to self-sabotage. Not self-sabotage. It's not like the people didn't earn the win, don't get me wrong. But I have noticed I love being the underdog and the chase up. And sometimes I think I kind of almost self-sabotage to be in that position to drive up. And it's not a conscious decision, but I have noticed, you know, I do think I'm someone who performs better in the gym, and it doesn't necessarily always translate into tournaments because I do struggle with competition nerves and that sort of stuff. So I think sometimes I tend to just unconsciously self-sabotage. It's
Maybe
weird.
that's why you were feeling low after all of your great accomplishments because, well, now what am I chasing?
Yeah, 100%. I love the chase.
You love the chase.
In all walks of life. but sorry. But yeah, I think that was like something I have to get comfortable with it. You know, like I want to be the person who wins all the time. So I have to learn to deal with that. And that's like a new challenge now is, obviously though I'm fighting girls who are incredibly high level. It's not like I'm losing to a bum.
Right.
Quote unquote. I'm losing people who are brilliant and all credit to them. But I do think that I have this weird like self-sabotaging tendency sometimes where I'm just sort of like, that was silly. What was I doing there?
I didn't want to cut you off again.
I didn't necessarily have something. What I was going to say before was I was wondering if you get recognized in public.
In New York, yes.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because obviously nowhere else. But in the US, it's like, it seems like it's way bigger here. Even when I go to seminars here, and like teach here, I feel like everyone's more of a fan. Obviously in the UK, you've got people who are into it too, but there is this weird thing at home where, and when I was in Ireland, it was kind of the same, like UK and Ireland. People, they are supportive, but like they don't get behind homegrown athletes the way they do here. I find, or like the way Brazil does, which is, it's like embarrassing to be confident. It's embarrassing to believe in yourself. That's something that I always feel like a little bit sad about it. Whereas here, everyone's like, we want you to win, we're getting behind you. And that's such a nice thing. And so when I do seminars here, it's way more of that atmosphere. Not everyone is like that, obviously, in the UK, but I think the overall consensus is that way a little bit. Just like, and I've even found it myself, like the cultural differences of like, I'd be like, oh, I hope I win. And then people be like, no, you're going to win. And they'd be so like, why does she not think she's going to win? And I'm just like, well, I don't know. I can't guarantee it. You know, we're meant to hate ourselves. Why, you don't hate yourself? What do you mean?
Where is your self-loathing?
Yeah. So it was very confusing that people were just like, no, I'm fine. I like myself. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Well, the abundance of people we had excited to get the opportunity to come train with you here shows you definitely have a solid fan base up in this area.
Which is very
Although
nice.
we stopped for coffee at a little shop in Suffield, Connecticut, and she was not recognized by anybody.
No, I mean, it's very rare. Like, it'll literally be, I'm on the subway and I look across and they have a Henzo Gracie bag and they kind of look at me like, They're like, do I recognize that girl? And I'm like,
Well, you're out of context. And
yeah.
I'll see people at a tournament, and then it's
Yes.
different from when you see them in real clothes. They look, especially women, look completely different in regular clothes.
True. And you know what is quite funny, which is now not a problem, but it's quite funny. But basically, someone will be looking at me and I'm like, are they checking me out?
Yeah, right.
They're just
I'm
posing.
like, yeah. I'm like, oh, they're checking me out. They think I'm hot. And then they're like, are you Ffion? And I'm like,
I am
I was like,
famous now.
You don't think? No, not even. I don't. But it's like, oh, you don't think I'm sexy? Oh, okay.
Well, they still
Not
could. They still could.
necessarily.
They still could. Yeah.
But like, oh, do you do jiu-jitsu? And I'm like, yes, that is.
I am the one.
And they're like, from Finland. And I'm like, no.
Oh man, that was
So it's
that was terrible.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, Jeff and I were there for ADCC, and we caught the Ffion from Finland.
I was like, what? I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
For once, it wasn't just me. It was everyone. Like, I think they called JT JJ Torres.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
From Brazil. And I was like, oh. And everyone was from different places. So it wasn't just me. I think I got the most, like, I think they had a few Finnish people there and they saw blonde hair and they were like,
Yeah.
she's one of them.
Yeah. Clearly, that's where you're from.
is she Elvira? Because there's obviously Elvira, who's also 10th Planet. And they were like, is that Elvira? She's from Finland, right? So then, yeah, they just saw blonde hair and they thought it was her. That's what I think that's what happened.
So how awkward was it when they had you guys standing out there on the mats for like 4 hours during the introductions?
Literally.
Everyone
like-
just started sitting down.
Yeah, but that was so funny. Because did you see, I don't know if you could tell, right? This is what happened. So people, I think AJ Agazam, of course, was the first to sit down, which I was relieved of because I was desperate to sit down. But he sat down and then Gabby was like, I think she was either opposite him or quite near him. And she started being like, stand up.
Oh, jeez.
And I mean, I'm not going to say no to whatever Gabby says. So I was like, oh gosh, I really want to sit down, but like, I'm afraid. But then everyone started sitting down and I sat down and like, basically everyone sat down except for Gabby. And she was like, because she was telling AJ to stand for so long and they were having this, and he was like, no. And he was like, sat down. He was like, no. And she was like, stand up. And he was like, no. Like a little petulant child. It was really funny. But then we all joined in and sat down. And then she just sort of like, because she'd been telling him to stand up, she just kind of had to stand.
She couldn't do it, yeah.
So when we were just like, she was just like, I don't want to sit down.
Of course, standing should be illegal. It's so painful.
It was,
So
I don't know
painful.
how long that was, but I know sitting in the stands, it felt forever. And all I could think was like, oh, these poor athletes. Like,
And you're all getting ready
It was meant
to
to be,
compete right after.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now
just
your
dragging
lumbar
on.
is just blown.
Yeah. And like there was so many things that were in the schedule that luckily they did like cut out. They said there was going to be a meet and greet.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to be meeting and greeting anyone. Like, no offense. Like I love chatting to people normally, but like if I'm going to compete, it drains. You know, talking to strangers, like it can be a lot of energy, and like people obviously want you to be friendly and upbeat. And if I'm nervous before a tournament, I'm not in my best. I'm not my best self. And the last thing I want is to be cold. Not that I would be cold, but you know, to come across a certain way towards people. And, you know, it's a lot of energy. I want to give good energy to people. So if I can't do that, I don't really want to be around a bunch of people when I'm going to poo myself any moment. So luckily that was taken out. Seth was like, just, yeah, let's go.
I think you have a reputation for your warmth. I know that.
For being an asshole. I was like, what?
Well, a lot of people in the jiu-jitsu world have that reputation, but for you, you know, everyone was so happy for you. Everyone's happy for you when you win. Everyone cries when you cry. It's like in my group chats, I'm in a bunch of them, and everyone just adores you. I don't think I've ever heard anything bad about you, ever. Your jiu-jitsu or your personhood.
Thank you. That's
Just so you
sweet.
know.
I'm sure there are people who have plenty.
We've
to
been
say.
talking bad about her for at least 6 weeks leading up to this, so you just haven't been
They
a part
left
of it
me
yet.
out of that,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Thank you. That is really sweet. And I try to be sound during as best as I can. Sometimes I think, I don't know. Sorry, I'm hitting your mic. But you know, I felt bad like the other day. There's like pans, and I was in the bullpen, and someone asked me for a photo, and I was like, I'm sorry, like, because I was going to go on in like 5 minutes, and I felt bad. I had to say no. I'm in a bullpen. You know, so
Yeah,
there's
It's just
certain
not
times,
the time to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, side note, if I don't ask me for a photo and I'm in the bullpen, just wait, and I will. But I'm in the bullpen. So like sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll worry about that interaction because I don't want to. But then you have to have like boundaries of when.
Yeah.
Not that I get, to be clear, I don't get asked for many photos. Just to be clear, it's very rare. But when it happens, it's usually very nice. But I can see for like other people, maybe if you're like Craig or something and you've got like a queue at ADCC, he had like a queue up the stairs. There was that photo. Like that's something that you shouldn't have to deal with before competing. I understand people want a photo, but it must have been very tiring for him.
Yeah. One thing, a lasting memory I had from spectating ADCC was I had gone up out of the seating to the bathroom or concessions or something, and it was literally like right after JT had lost. Like he had just gotten changed, walked out, and he had a mob of people around him, and he was just taking the time, taking every picture, signing every autograph, and he had just lost. Like it was right after the fact, and
Yeah.
he just took all that time.
Yeah, he's literally an angel. He's the nicest person ever. And like, he is someone who really has such a good reputation. Like anyone I've ever talked to was like, yeah, I met him years ago. And then like 5 years ago and he still remembered me, like that kind of thing. And it's crazy because I have the worst memory. I'm like, hello again? But like, not because I'm an asshole. I try not to be an asshole, but like, it's just like I have a bad memory. Yeah, or not even, but I just have an awful memory. And I'm like, I generally would never try to, but it's just that thing. But he's so good with that sort of thing. And that was like a thing that was quite funny. Not funny, but you'd come out of the athlete room and you're straight into the area where everyone's buying drinks. So when same thing happened to me, I came out and I got mobbed. And it was like nothing I've ever seen, but I've never experienced that before. Because people will be drinking, so they're kind of drunk. Yeah. And like sometimes people would like just grab you and not say anything and I'd be like, hi, what's your name? And then they'd just be taking a photo of me. And I'm like, oh, that's... So I'm like, imagine if you were an actual celebrity. That must be insane. And obviously I was in a happy, jolly mood because I was like, woohoo. But then I was like, oh, I can't get to my seat. I want to watch and I can't. And then, but yeah, like it was, so nice of him to have been so.
Yeah, I recognized a lot of that needy fandom going on there, and it was kind of ugly to watch a lot of it happening.
I do get it, but like I think I don't know. It's like at the end of the day, it's like we're not like we're athletes, and a lot of people just like wouldn't know how to. Like I don't know how to act with that dream. Like I don't want to come across as an asshole, but it's a very like unrealistic situation to be in a way. So I can't imagine what being an actual celebrity or like more popular in the jiu-jitsu space would be like. That must be quite like overwhelming.
Well, and you guys really got thrust into it this last year because ADCC just got blown up so big all of a sudden. Yeah. So like, it's not like a lot of you worked your way up into
especially
having that attention.
If you had like a breakthrough moment at ADCC, then that would be, you'd be like, oh God, what's going on? But to be fair, like, because there was so many like actual famous people around, like it deflected a lot of any of that from me anyway. They're like, who's that? I was like, Greg Jones. And they run to him and I'm like, fantastic.
Like, look, there's Greg.
Look at Greg. And I'm like, hey. So that kind of worked well. Oh, sorry, did I kick you?
No, you're fine.
Okay, good. Sorry.
How much time we have?
We can do like another 15.
Okay, because I desperately want to ask Ffion the questions that we asked. We don't have to get to it yet, but I'm sure we have time to do that, so don't let me forget.
Even I'm curious. I'm like, what are the questions?
You know the questions. You got to ask the podcast. You got to ask questions.
The signature podcast question.
Yes.
Okay.
We have signature questions we like to ask everybody. It's a little different for you, obviously, as a professional, but we'll get to them. Don't worry, they're not hard.
Exam anxiety.
Yeah. They're all mathematical.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, are you good at math? Right. Talk to us about the Polaris event a month ago, whatever that was, couple weeks back.
Was that only a month ago?
I don't think it was very long, right?
It was in March. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
Where are we now?
We're in April.
Okay.
Halfway through April.
Where am I?
Right. So that was a pretty big event, right?
Yeah.
They stacked the best women in the world.
You kind of spearheaded the movement.
Yeah. I mean, it was very cool to watch. Just like from a jiu-jitsu perspective, like, without anything else considered, I found it very fascinating. And I'm just curious, like from your perspective, how did that feel? Like, did it feel like rewarding in a sense, right? I hope that doesn't come across condescending in any way, but like, was it rewarding to be like, we have this event that is centered around women's jiu-jitsu that's been a long time coming, right?
Yeah, this is kind of, I don't want to give an assholey answer.
You're always avoiding
Please do.
Just be an asshole.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, this might come across a certain way, but I don't mean it in that way. However, you know what? It's fine. My thing, I know what you mean rewarding, but it doesn't really feel rewarding to get equality.
What you should have, right?
Equality doesn't feel too rewarding for me. So I was hesitant to get too like yay, thank you so much for the bare minimum. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for the prize money, but I'm as grateful as it would be as the male competitors, you know, like, oh, I'm grateful there's just a big prize, not necessarily for women, just in general. And I don't want to be too like, oh, thank you, please. For what is something that I think should just be happening, and for us to not even consider gender. And what was really beautiful about the event was that no one was talking about the gender of the athletes, really, as aside from, like, I think something they kept saying was like the ADCC absolute that should have happened, which is something that I said and I kind of wanted to push forward, because there's certain things about ADCC that I really want to change. Obviously, they take time, but I really think it's 2023. For the love of God, we should have more than 2 divisions. Where's the absolute? Where is the super fight? Because for me, settling for just 1 more division isn't enough. I think there should be at least 2 more divisions, an absolute and a super fight where you get the majority of the money in the whole event goes to the super fight. Like, at ADCC, I actually won less money than I did at Gi Worlds. And people are like, I bet you made so much money from ADCC. I'm like, I made pennies from ADCC.
That's interesting.
I do 2 seminars and it's the same thing.
The pay
And
discrepancy
you know the price for seminars. So, yeah.
between the men and the women, I wrote an article about the pay discrepancy at ADCC, and you hear all of the same things that people say, where it's Gordon Ryan that brought people in. Okay, that's one fight that did bring in a ton of attention, but then you have moments like Amy Campo when she did that drag with the whole audience is on their feet. You can't tell me that there was a moment that wasn't that thrilling, and those are 2 women.
Yeah.
I don't understand the pay discrepancy.
Yeah, and also, like, there's this thing of, like you're giving us 2 divisions. This isn't, you know, you're the one, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming Mo,
I was
please.
just saying, oh boy, Mo's going to be mad.
That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying the organization as a whole, the current system, not to put blame on anyone in particular, I'm just saying the current system is what is stopping it from growing. So what was nice about Polaris was that this is going to lead to so much growth now, I hope. Oh, you're already seeing it. And it was like everyone was seeing it like these are just great matches. There wasn't one stalling call. And I don't want to do this thing of where we're like, actually, and this is when people say this, is saying it in a very sweet way, and I appreciate it. But this is like, oh, the women, we don't need to be like, oh, the women are more exciting than men. Like, that's lovely when people say this, but like, it's like, no, women are just exciting, full stop. Jiu-Jitsu is exciting. The certain competitors make this exciting. And I think, okay, maybe there's a tendency for women's matches to end up being more exciting sometimes because we are aware we have maybe 1 space on a card. And we know that if there's no movement, we're going to get booed or go, get in the kitchen. When actually, I think my match was heckled at Polaris by the British crowd. I think at the beginning, when I was fighting Giovanna, my first match, I think they were like saying something derogatory in the crowd. I vaguely remember it. And I was trying to tune it out because I don't want to get angry. I'm starting to flip off the crowd like a Marigali. But I totally understand why he did, because when people are shouting stuff like that, you're just like, what do you say?
Terrible.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you have to, like, the system has to give an opportunity to grow, and it may not be on the first time, but like you can't just. It's discrimination. Do you mean, like, you can't call it what it is? You're discriminating. This is not even. It's not even about being a feminist. Like, I am a feminist, but like, you know, people get very upset by this term for some reason. Femme. We just hate women apparently, so they can't handle even femme in a word. But it's that thing of like you have to give it space to actually grow. Otherwise, how can like? Is that I remember seeing there was some sort of like organization in Ireland. It was called like if she could, the tagline of it was like it was about women's sport, and it was like if she can see it, she can be it, and it's so true. I just remember being like a young athlete in judo, and I didn't have many, if any, female coaches to look to. Where do I look to see what I can become like? It's like I just have people kind of tolerating me on the mat, and being like, well, she's tough for a girl, I guess, and like tolerating, and it's very hard to see yourself being, you know, like, why are there less girls in these male-dominated sports? Because it's hard to see yourself in that space. Like, there's no female coach. How do I see myself becoming a coach myself? How do I see myself becoming a world champion when there's not a division for me? So it's kind of, and like if you're in the plus 60 category, it's like there isn't a space for me really, because I have to be as good as Amy Campo to take down Gabby Garcia, who will be double my weight. You know, it's how do you see yourself winning that division when you have to contest with far bigger weight gaps and dangers? So that's my long soapbox rant.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Do you feel any weight on your shoulders to, like, just frankly, you know, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I told her that you were coming in, and she wanted to watch your videos, and you know, do you feel weight like in that, like a sense of responsibility, or like, you know, obviously we had a bunch of kids here who were very excited to see you, right, and ask questions, and I thought, you know, the answer that you gave the one little girl about competition was beautiful, and I could like. I was watching you. I was behind that little girl, and I was watching you look right at her and give the answer. And I was thinking to myself, well, you know, Ffion just made this, you know, you pointed this little girl in the perfect direction. And I'm not saying that to just blow smoke, because I'm a girl dad, right?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, do you feel like pressure or weight, you know, as it pertains to, you know, like, you know, the up and coming young female athletes, right, who now do have people that they can look up to that maybe you didn't have yourself?
I wouldn't say it's like a pressure or a weight. I'd say it's a responsibility, but one that I'm very happy to take on, because to give it, even if like I don't think I'm the best person for the job, but I take it seriously, and it's something that I do. Like maybe this isn't. I don't know if it's different. I can't speak to a guy's experience, right? But like for me, it's like I do want to be as good a role model as I possibly can be. I want to still be myself, and sometimes that's making stupid jokes, dirty jokes, whatever. That's just me. And like I'm not saying the kids should act that way, you know what I mean? But like in terms of like the way I hold myself in tournaments, how respectful I'm trying to be towards opponents, and in that regard, when I'm competing, at least, I want to try and model something good, because you know, like to be. There's young girls coming through, and that is really important to me. Being someone to look to is important to me, because I didn't have many, if any. I think the first sort of, even in terms of things like body image, I know it's like not really on topic, but this is something that unfortunately will come into women's sports a lot more, I think, because, you know. I
think it's very relevant.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that was like my body was so unconventional when I was younger. You know, being muscular as a woman was just like, you're a freak, you know what I mean? And I had a very large upper body in comparison to all my peers. So it was, and then I saw Ronda Rousey, and I was like, people were calling her beautiful. And I'd never seen someone who looked like me be called beautiful. I was just like, that's a man, or whatever, you know, or like arm wrestle me. So then these people were calling Ronda Rousey beautiful, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, I look at her and I think she's beautiful, and actually we have very similar bodies. Like she's athletic, but she's not rail thin, you know, like you see like, oh, they're athletic, but they're just actually, they've got abs. You know, they're the kind of athletic that's like socially okay to be, you know, whereas I was like a big traps. So even things like that, I think is, you know, it puts pressure on you to be like, to be body neutral. Like I wouldn't say I'm like body positive, but like I'm neutral about my body, and I see it as a tool for being good at jiu-jitsu, and I see there's a responsibility there for me to be careful how I talk about my body, because other people were like, oh, she thinks she's fat, she thinks she's ugly, but she looks kind of like how I look.
So I look that way, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
and then it's like the same with, I guess, with competing. Then it's like you have to be careful. I don't know. There's certain things you have to be careful around, and I don't want to rub off on someone the wrong way. You know, I don't know. But I'm happy to bear that responsibility, because it holds me accountable for who I have to be as well. You know, hopefully, be a good sportsman or whatever.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
All right. Unfortunately, we got to take this home and get to the train station. So a couple of our stock questions for you that we ask everybody.
Okay.
So we always ask people, and it's either theoretical for some or real life for others. What is your walkout music of choice? Which Taylor Swift song is it? Would be a real?
Try.
That one's too slow and depressing.
That's true. She's just got that tattoo with that on.
I do. I have a few Taylor Swift tattoos actually, but they're more subtle. But I think it's Ready for It off the Reputation album. Basically, anything off Reputation is my favorite.
Do you always use the same, or do you switch it up?
I do switch it up. Last time I walked out to Bejeweled. Best believe I won't sing it. But yeah, it's whatever I'm feeling. Sometimes it's not Taylor Swift. Sometimes it's like I walked out to Move, bitch, get out the way, and I instantly regretted it, because it came off like I was saying it to them, and I was like, I thought it was funny.
That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah, little ludicrous. Yeah. The other question that we like to ask is when you meet someone who maybe doesn't know you, right? So they're not the one asking for the autograph or the picture, and they ask you what you do for a living. What do you say?
Yeah, this is hard. Like if I'm like the hairdresser, I try not to scare people. Like, or if I get my nails done, they're like, "Are you a chef?" I was like, "Yes." Sometimes I make it like, or if someone's like kind of like hitting on you or something, I would be like, I'm a doctor actually. That's why I have these hands. And they're like, oh, and we're a farmer. If I just want to be jokey, but I'll just be like, oh, I don't want to say athlete as well. That sounds kind of cringe for some reason, even though it's technically true. I'll be like, oh, I teach Jiu Jitsu. Usually is my go-to. I teach Jiu Jitsu.
Do they always say, "Oh, so can you kick my ass?"
Yes.
Yes. So we've
And
joked about this with everybody. Yeah.
when I was on the old dating apps, and I've now deleted them because they are horrific. I try not to put any jiu-jitsu related things on there, but when you start talking to someone, eventually they're going to ask, "What do you do?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." I say, "I teach jiu-jitsu and I compete a bit, but like I don't want to lead with athlete." And then they're like, "Could you beat me in a fight?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it's really why? And they're like, we should roll around. And I'm like, let's not roll around. Or like, can you teach me? And I'm like, that's going to cost you though. I'm not teaching you for free.
You'd be surprised how many people we ask that, and usually when people are like, "Can you kick my ass?" People are like, just kind of shrink away from
Avoid the question.
Yeah, avoid the question altogether, right? Like, but yes, I can't kick your ass. Actually,
Probably, yeah. I mean,
yep. All right. Well, somebody has to get to the train.
Got to get to the train station.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
no worries. Thank you. I wish
out
I
of
could do
your busy
longer.
schedule.
Sorry.
No, please.
Maybe
It's our honor.
we'll get you virtually sometime and
Yes.
do a longer episode.
That'd be
That'd be
great.
cool.
Thank you.
But
Very
thank
cool.
you so much for coming up, teaching us, training with us. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great seminar.
Thank you. Yay.
Very conceptual.
Fun. Have a safe trip home. Thank you. Bye.
Hi again.
like we're hanging up the